looking for a place for the whole family? Come down to the Toucan Mall in Amelia's Ward, Linden. It's the mall that has it all. We have great food, a relaxing atmosphere, and activities for all ages. Tennis, swimming, and a playground. But the fun doesn't stop after dark. There's even a bar and an arcade. And if you aren't ready to go home yet, we've even got a spacious room for your comfort, complete with air conditioning, Wi-Fi, and a private bathroom. The Toucan Mall can also facilitate your events in our spacious conference hall. We also have a theater with films for the entire family. It's the Toucan Mall located in Amelia's Ward, Linden.
All right, a very good evening to all of you, my friends. We have a little early start today, maybe about 3 minutes or so. So we give you an extra 3 minutes. Welcome to our program today, and today is a very special day. It's the pre-independence day. We're having our show today on the 25th of May. And we're going to be 56 years old, I think, right? 56, I think? Yeah, we're going to be 56 years old tonight or tomorrow. So happy independence to all of you, my friends. And you can call your buddies and your families and tell them that we're on live at the studio, okay? Today is a special day at the studio because today we are actually doing a test, right? And I would like you to participate in this test. Today we're going to open the lines very early, and I would like you to call in. Even, I don't, whatever you want to say nicely, you can call in, and we just want to know where you're calling from when you call in, because we would like to know where the signal is reaching, what areas the signal is reaching. So call your friends and your families and your buddies and your sissies and so on. Let them know that that we're on the air live today from the studio itself, and we just want you to participate in letting us know where you're calling from when you call. And you can ask your questions on your health issues and maybe some other things that are permissible to discuss. Right? So good evening to you and welcome to our program once again. Today I have a very interesting video to show you. It has to do with the pandemic or plandemic, whatever you want to call it. Some of you call it plandemic, some say pandemic. It has to do with the situation back then, and many, we used to have a lot of things that I would show that that people are experiencing, and the views of many doctors wherever they were across the world. And we were told by some persons that, oh, that's conspiracy TV. This is not true, it's conspiracy TV and all of that sort of thing. And I mean, I knew it wasn't conspiracy TV because I knew the sources of where I was getting the information from. We were getting information from serious sources that were inside. Okay? But some people just, because of whatever levels they were on or whatever agendas they had, they denied and they didn't accept, and they actually at many times sanctioned the studio. I can say it because it happened. Sanctioned the studio because they said that we were broadcasting information that was not true. Okay, so today I actually have a video which will silence, I think, and maybe embarrass many of those persons who felt that way. And the facts are clear because this was something that was done by professionals, right? Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Haynes.
Where are you calling from? Good evening.
This is Albert Tom in the house.
You Alberton?
Yes. And I'm
Okay.
hearing you loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I'm happy to hear
My-
that. You have a
My
question?
problem is,
Yes, go ahead.
what is the effect of these? We're talking about the pandemic,
Yeah.
taking these vaccines.
All right. Well,
I'm having serious, serious side effects.
For example, what is happening with you?
Like a nervous feeling. When the rain set up, the hand is paining. You're feeling like something banging in your head. Your heart palpitating.
What is your age?
66.
Okay. Okay.
Serious, serious side effects.
And you were not having these issues before you were vaccinated?
No.
Did you have any conditions that existed, like arthritis or, anything, any hypertension, anything?
Diabetes.
Diabetes. All right. Well, what is happening is that persons are experiencing a variety of effects or maybe symptoms of some kind as a result of maybe the chemical imbalance that occurred after they would have gotten injected by the chemicals or with the chemicals, right? So I don't want to say that that it's not affecting you because of that, because it's a chemical that was injected, and the chemical contains all sorts of things that we saw. We saw what was in those vaccines or in those injections, and I know for a fact that some of those things that are in there can be very harmful. Okay, so it is very possible that you are experiencing effects of what you got. I don't know which one you got.
AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca. Okay, yeah, they pretty much are all similar, right? But I would say to you, to counteract what you're experiencing, we need to find out what is happening with your organs. Okay, what is really happening to them, and if we can see and tell you if the organ is affected by the chemicals in the vaccine, we can do that. We have the ability to do that.
Okay.
Right? So I can look at the organ and I can see what's affecting the organ. So if that's the case, I can tell you it is or not. All right?
Yes.
But we need to.
Where are you located again?
We're in Kitty. We're in Queen Street, Kitty, near Kiskadee Daycare, obliquely across from Windjammer Hotel. Right, so it's easy to find. It's not too hard. Just come down Alexander Street, like you're coming towards the seawall, and it becomes Queen Street at a certain point, and then we're right there in Queen Street, 72 Queen Street.
Okay then, thank you. You don't open on Saturdays?
No, man, I'm working hard whole week.
Okay, a Monday afternoon.
Tuesday. We work from Tuesday to Friday, but tomorrow's a holiday.
Yes.
Okay? So
okay then, thank you, Dr.
You call the number, let me see, the number is on the screen there. 231-6477 is the number you can call. And you can schedule a time and come in and we'll take a look and see, okay?
Okay then, thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's very loud and very clear. I like that. I wish we can have all the calls like that. And Albertong is our old stomping grounds. You know, we used to be in 5th Street, Albertong. And people are somehow reminding us of this between Light and Albert. We've been reminded of we used to have the place called Veggie Burger King. And many persons would come by there for breakfast and lunch, and even for dinner. They'd take home the lunch for dinner because we had the best burgers and the best shakes and the best pure juices. We never used. We just, I mean, we didn't. We were going to, we have the registration of Veggie Burger Queen, right? Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, brother. Where are you calling from? What area?
Charliefield Ridley Square.
Where?
Charliefield Ridley.
Oh, that's not very far. Okay.
Yes, I was there last. I'm supposed to come back to you the 30th of this month. So I just called to find out if I got a pay next fee.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we got to do the same thing that we did before. And then we have to assess you to see how you progressed or regressed. We hopefully would have seen progression. And it's the same procedure.
Okay.
But it's not a single, you don't pay.
Dexter and Michelle was there.
Yes, you don't pay the same amount, you pay less.
Okay. I didn't forget you in the plant, you know. Still have the plant. You better come in this paper and bring it.
Okay.
I didn't forget you. I didn't forget you.
Okay, I'm waiting. I got the soil waiting for the plant.
Okay. Well, I got it in a bucket. So you want to do your transplant.
Okay, brother. I appreciate that, okay?
Okay. There is the torture. There is next Tuesday.
Okay, great. All right. Looking forward to seeing you.
Okay. I think I'm 100% better.
Man, look, listen, this is not, I'm not saying this because of what you just said, but it has been proven over the years that the device that we're using, because of its ability to detect what is happening to you, not I'm detecting, I'm just using the device
Yeah.
to detect from you what is happening with you. Once you follow the rules that are laid down because of what was detected that's wrong with your body, chances are you will get better.
You're like following the rules.
You keep following the rules and you'll be just fine. Guaranteed 96% in the world.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Yeah. It is, you know, when I think of what we used to do in Fifth Street, right? And for the sake of the persons who are not in the audience, I'm speaking with someone in the audience. When I think of what we used to do in Fifth Street, it was something that doesn't exist even today. You cannot hardly go anywhere in this country and get a pure glass of juice. Hardly. When I say pure glass of juice, I mean the juice is made in front of you from the fruit. No sugar added, no water added. That's what we used to do there. Well, no, you get pure juice. We used to make smoothies. We used to make shakes. And we never even used sugar in the shakes. We used the juice, natural juice in the shakes. You know? So, I mean, people used to come there, and when we made a burger for you, it's not what you used to have here. Them things are not burgers. Those are things that put between bread. Right? I mean, I was speaking to Auntie Lizzie about it, and we might open back with her with her. But I ain't able, man. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And the thing is that you've got to get people who are committed to the process. You know? The people we had working for us, as a matter of fact, we have one person who's still there, working with us since we opened in Georgetown, right? Those people were committed to what we were doing there. They were committed. When I say committed, they put their everything into what we were doing there because they saw it, they saw everything we were doing. There was nothing hidden. And they realized that we were providing a service to humankind that didn't exist. It was needed. I used to make pastries every morning. People never knew that. Before I came down and saw patients, I used to bake the pastries every morning. I taught the pastry makers how to make the pastries for the people who were sick. We used to make healthy pastries. We used to make whole wheat. All the time it was whole wheat or whole grain. Right? We used to make whole grain.
So those pastries that you have going now, who makes them?
We don't make pastries there.
No, but I think you do sell, right?
No. Well, we used to have some point ago. Some time ago we used to do that before coronavirus came.
Pandemic,
Yeah. But they used to be made by someone who used to work for us.
Oh.
Yeah. This person used to work in Fifth Street. You know, I was telling someone today, just the taxi driver that brought me here. I was saying to him that it is so critical to know where you're buying things from because you don't know who makes what you buy. You know? You don't know the conditions under which they're made. You don't know. Like those plantain chips you see at the road corner, you know where they're coming from? We don't even know the conditions under which they're made. We don't know if the person has any sink next to them, if they wash their hand, we don't know, right? So it's so important to know the source of what you're going to put into your system. And today we're talking about nutrition, right? Because over the years, I have proven, persons have realized that one of the biggest problems that we have in this country, the biggest problem we have in this country when it comes to being well or being sick is nutrition. It's nutrition. We have persons who can't even afford to put a decent snack in their children's lunch bag before they go to school. You know, we have persons who can afford it, but who doesn't see the importance of it because it is not talked about. Nutrition is hardly spoken about in this country. And one of the biggest factors that we have that contributes to illness in this country is nutrition, the lack or inadequate nutrition. People are not eating the foods they need to be eaten. The other thing that's wrong here now is that we are chemicalizing everything. The farmers are chemicalizing everything because they want to reap them quick. They want them to grow fast. They want them to produce quickly. You know, instead of the callaloo taking 6 weeks before it can get to the farm, it's taking 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? So what has gone wrong with us here that is causing us? And let me tell you, we are seeing more sick people today than ever. More sick people. People are more sick, and the lady called already talked about all the things that are happening to her, and she thinks it's because of the chemicals in the vaccine. That she's experiencing all of these things since she got vaccinated. She is one of many of thousands who are experiencing all sorts of things ever since they were vaccinated. You know, and there are many lives that were lost after the vaccination. I don't want to get into that, right? So, you know, the pivotal thing here that is really important, you cannot undo the vaccine. Think about that. You cannot undo the vaccine. You also cannot undo what was in the vaccine, because you don't, most people who took the vaccine don't even know what's inside, right? You don't know what was in there. All you know is that you got a serum of something in your arm, right? I wouldn't answer that question. Okay? The thing is, many persons are also unable to afford what is needed to protect them from the effects, not only of the vaccine, the effects of the virus, because I will tell you today that the coronavirus is still out there. It's still rampant out there. And we're seeing it every day. So the coronavirus is not something that's going to go away. I said it from the beginning. It ain't going nowhere, my friends. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be here, and it's here to stay. Okay? What you have to do is to protect yourself from the effects of not only coronavirus, but of all the viruses that you could protect yourself from, because it's out there. The viruses are going to be amongst us. But what are we doing with our body system to shield us from the effects of those viruses? What are we doing? You think coronavirus is not affecting the children? They said it's not going to affect the children. This is affecting the children. The children are also affected by other viruses like adenovirus, streptococcus bacteria. There's so much streptococcus out there. It's incredible. So much of it. You know, so you're not going to be able to stop the bacteria. You're not going to be able to stop the viruses. But what you can do is to enhance your immune system. Enhance your immune system to be able to cushion the effects of the viruses and bacteria that are out there. And that is a missing element. And it is sad to say that even though that is what we need to do, the foods that we're eating today are not like the foods that we had yesterday. We have more fast foods here, and unhealthy fast foods. We have so much hepatitis out there, it's amazing. I'm seeing that all the time. We have so many people who have fatty liver. It's crazy. So many persons who are suffering with obesity, excess fat. We have persons that we see, and I see all the time, who don't look like they need to lose any weight. They have the right size, but when you screen them, they have excess fats in the organs, excess fat in the arteries, plaque build up in the arteries. You got fatty liver, you got high cholesterol. You know, when you look at the person, you would think, no man, no, there's no way you could have problem with fat. We're frying everything today. We're buying a lot of fast foods that are fried. Everything is fried. When we cook, we're frying everything. We're eating more breads today because, even though the prices may have doubled, right? We're eating more breads because it's the easiest thing to buy and the easiest thing to eat and the easiest thing that can fill you up. So when you eat that bread, you're getting, number one, you're getting yeast. You're getting sugar. You're getting lard or shortening. Right? You're hardly getting butter. Right? You're getting the yeast, you get the fat, you get the sugar. What nutrients? And you also get salt. Where is the nutrition in that product? Where is it? Very little of it. And today, we're eating more bread than we did yesterday because it's cheap to buy bread when you look at everything else. It's healthier to eat cassava bread than to eat the bread you're buying off the baker shop today. Cassava bread is a healthier product. I'm telling you that. Because you don't get the lard in cassava bread. They don't make cassava bread with lard. They don't put sugar in the cassava bread. They don't do that. They don't put yeast in the cassava bread. I'm not promoting cassava bread because some people say, I eat so much cassava bread, I ain't want nothing about it. But it's a healthier product today than the bread you're eating. But guess what? Cassava bread gone up in price by 3 or 4 times. Even cassava bread gone up. So it is so difficult today to be able to have the kind of nutrition that you need to protect yourself, to build that wall that you need to build, to give you the immune function that when these viruses and bacteria attack you, you can at least defend yourself. It's not easy to do that now because everything gone up, but your money ain't gone up. Right? Even the cost for me to do this program gone up. But I don't pass it on to y'all. Today I was discussing with the gentleman this afternoon. I told him, look, all I want you to do is start getting what you need from here, and then you could tell your family to buy it and send it to you. He said, well, you said that? I said, yes, I'm going to start you off with what you need today. But I'm encouraging you, because of the way the state of the economy, to get your family to buy the product and send it for you. You know what he said to me? He laughed. He said, Doc, I tried out. And my family tell me it's better to send the money here and buy the product right there. He says, as a matter of fact, the person is asking me to bring the product out to them in the States when I go in August. People think it's expensive when they come by. Dr. Ains, them there, this, there, that, there. Really, try to bring it yourself and you'll see. You got to pay the shipping. You got to pay the duty. You got to pay the trucker who brings it and delivers it to you. Then you got to pay other things. You got to pay for the paperwork to be processed at the shipping company. It's a charge for everything here now. Nothing is free. If we were to really pass on the expenses that we have to incur to get the things that we need for people here, they can't afford it. Some people already can't afford it. So the person outside is telling the person in Guyana to buy it from us to take it out there. They're coming from right out there. So I don't know. They tried to buy it and send it in, and when they bought it, first of all the guy said, Doc, let me tell you, when they price it, it was the same thing he's selling it for. And they ain't buy it yet. They ain't ship it yet. He ain't pay the duty to pick. You know, when you add those things up, it's a serious task and serious dollar value. So, you know, I don't know. We need to get more into producing our own. Not only on a large scale, but I've always said that the people here need to get back into feeding themselves. Plant your own gardens in your backyard. You don't have yard space, get those tires and those buckets and make beds with those buckets and tires and grow your own food. Because you know what you're going to put in there. And they may take longer for you to get to reap them, but at least you're not going to get the chemicals. We see so much aflatoxins and mycotoxins and we even see DDT pesticide in people's bodies. DDT, which is a very toxic drug. DDT. We also seeing a lot of lead in people. A lot of mercury. Okay? Heavy lead, heavy mercury. No wonder some people, they can't sleep. They can't remember anything. Your brain is congested with lead and mercury. It's not easy. I mean, where are we getting all of that lead from in our diets? Where are we getting all the mercury from? The foods that we eat, the water that we drink, the fish that we use, the seafood, the shrimp, you know, all those things, mercury. There's more mercury in the water now than ever before. There's more lead. More lead. Cadmium. That's a very toxic metal, cadmium. Not metal, chemical. And cadmium, I spoke about it on several occasions. One of the derivatives is smoke. Smoke. People smoke and you breathe the cigarette, right? You're worse than the person who's smoking. If you're breathing the smoke of a person who is smoking on a regular basis, you will be toxic with cadmium, right? We're buying a lot of barbecue chicken, barbecue everything. Smoke. You know, we're not thinking about the effects. You know what is happening here today? In Guyana, we have more cancers that are occurring today than ever. More cancer. We have more diabetes. We have more hypertension. Y'all ever put any thought into why it is happening today? Why are we losing so many of our family members to cancer, to hypertension, to high blood pressure, to diabetes? Why are we having so many people with stroke? Why are we having so many heart attacks? Why are we having so many aneurysms? Why? Why are we having so many people breaking arteries in their brain? Why? There are more people who are sick today, and people are dying at a faster rate today, and I know that. They're dying at a faster rate today than ever. Soon enough, we're going to run out of place to bury people. And when you go to elections, you have nobody voting because everybody dead. There's a whole bunch of new people got to come and vote again. You know, so we have to take steps somehow, individually. Like I was speaking, I did a little lecture at a church just the other night. And I was saying to these guys that for a congregation this size, it's almost necessary that you start your own farm. You start your own supermarket. You start your own entities, and you feed yourselves. You empower yourselves. You have enough land to do it. You have enough bodies to do it. Start your own kitchen gardens and feed yourselves. Nutrify yourselves. Don't depend on the medicines to do it. It's not going to happen. Somebody was fussing with us about the blood pressure problem. And she's saying, oh, when I take this medicine, this natural derivative from you, I thought that my pressure would go down right away. I said, what are you saying? I thought when I take this tablet from you, that my blood pressure will drop right away. So I said, what are you taking now? She told me the drug she's on. I said, what will your blood pressure be if you do not take the drug? Do you know? If you just don't take that drug every day, twice a day, like you're taking it, what would your blood pressure be like? See, have you ever tried it? She says, well, it will be high. I said, good. So guess what? The drugs that you're taking is not really working on removing the cause of your blood pressure. You've got to work on the cause. And if you're going to take something natural to work on the cause, you have to give it time, because that blood pressure problem just didn't happen. You believe that the drugs are going to fix you? No. The body has to heal itself, my friends. You have to give the body what it needs to heal itself. It's not going to just heal itself. Okay? Now I got a video I want you to see. Right? And after the video is finished, maybe we'll have some time to take some more calls. But you can call me in between the video. It's fine. I want to know where you're calling from, and I want to know that you've seen the program. It's very important for us, right? I've got a senior executive in here today, and he's watching the program. And he's here to monitor not what we're talking about, but the calls and where they're coming from. So it's important that even if you have nothing to say, just call and let us know that you're receiving the signal and you're hearing us properly, right? I'm going to ask my operator to show the video, and after the video, we come back in and have a little more chatting, okay? Stay tuned.
It is a particularly interesting location for me to be sitting today, given that over a decade ago I sat in this very chair right here in the European Union Parliament. And at that time, I warned the world of what was coming. During that conversation that was hosted at the time by the Green and EFA and a number of the other parties of the European Union's various representations, we were having a conversation on whether Europe should adopt the United States policy of allowing for the patents on biologically derived materials. And at the time, I urged this body, and I urged people around the world, that the weaponization of nature against humanity had dire consequences. Tragically, I sit here today with that unfortunate line that I don't like to say, which I told you so. But the fact of the matter is, we're here not for a reprisal on past decisions. We're here to actually, once again, come to the face of the human condition and ask the question, who do we want to be? What do we want humanity to look like? And rather than seeing this as an exercise in futility, which is very easy from time to time when you're in the position I'm in, I actually see this not as an exercise in futility. I see this as one of the greatest opportunities that faces us, because we now have a public conversation, which is now front and center in people's minds. When this was an esoteric conversation about biological patents, nobody cared. But when that conversation came home, then it became something people can care about. So I'm actually quite grateful for this opportunity. I thank the members of Parliament for hosting this. I thank all of the translators who, I apologize in advance. I will use terminology that is probably very difficult to translate, so my apologies. And I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that many of you are aware of my involvement with this, in large part due to the amazing work of my wonderful wife, Kim Martin, who encouraged me at the very early days of this pandemic to get on front of the camera and talk about all the information that I had been sharing among very small groups around the world. And it was, in fact, her encouragement that put me in a place where many of you have heard what I have to say. Ironically, the world that I came from, that used to be very popular, my CNBC and Bloomberg presentations, which were televised on mainstream media around the world, was an audience that I lost. I can confidently say COVID diminished my fame. But I can also confidently say that I'd rather stand among the people with whom I'm standing today than any of the folks that were part of that previous world. So this is a much better place to be. My role today is to set the stage for this conversation in a historical context, because this did not come in the last 3 years. This did not come in the last 5 or 6 years. This actually is an ongoing question that probably began here in Europe in the early stages of the mid-1900s, but certainly by 1913, 1914, this conversation started right here in Central Europe. The pandemic that we alleged to have happen in the last few years also did not happen overnight. In fact, the very specific pandemic using coronavirus began in a very different time. And we'll try to advance the slides here with one of these things. Oh, there we go. Most of you don't know that coronavirus as a model of a pathogen was isolated in 1965. Coronavirus was identified in 1965 as one of the first infectious replicatable viral models that could be used to modify a series of other experiences of the human condition. It was isolated once upon a time associated with the common cold. But what's particularly interesting about its isolation in 1965 was that it was immediately identified as a pathogen that could be used and modified for a whole host of reasons. And you heard me correctly, that was 1965. And by the way, these slides are public domain. You're welcome to look at every single reference. Every comment that I made is based on published material, so do make sure that you look at those references. But in 1966, the very first COV coronavirus model was used as a transatlantic biological experiment in human manipulation. And you heard the date, 1966. I hope you're getting the point of what I'm saying. This is not an overnight thing. This is actually something that's been long in the making. A year before I was born, we had the first transatlantic coronavirus data sharing experiment between the United States and the United Kingdom. And in 1967, the year I was born, we did the first human trials on inoculating people with modified coronavirus. Isn't that amazing? 56 years ago, the overnight success of a pathogen that's been 56 years in engineering. And I want that to chill with all of you. Where were we when we actually allowed, in violation of biological and chemical weapons treaties, where were we as a human civilization when we thought it was an acceptable thing to do to take a pathogen for the United States and infect the world with it? Where was that conversation? And what should have been that conversation in 1967? That conversation wasn't had. Ironically, the common cold was turned into a chimera in the 1970s. And in 1975, 1976, and 1977, we started figuring out how to modify coronavirus by putting it into different animals, pigs and dogs. And not surprisingly, by the time we got to 1990, we found out that coronavirus as an infectious agent was an industrial problem for two primary industries, the industries of dogs and pigs. Dog breeders and pigs found that coronavirus created gastrointestinal problems, and that became the basis for Pfizer's first spike protein vaccine patent, filed, are you ready for this, in 1990. Did you hear what I just said? 1990. Operation Warp Speed? I'm sorry. Where's the warp and the speed? Pfizer, 1990, the very first spike protein vaccine for coronavirus. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it fascinating that we were told that, well, the spike protein is a new thing. We just found out that that's the problem. No. As a matter of fact, we didn't just find out it was not just now the problem. We found that out in 1990 and filed the first patents on vaccines in 1990 for the spike protein of coronavirus. And who would have thought? Pfizer. Clearly the innocent organization that does nothing but promote human health. Clearly Pfizer, the organization that has not bought the votes in this chamber and in every chamber of every government around the world. Not that Pfizer. Certainly they wouldn't have had anything to do with this. But oh yes, they did. And in 1990, they found out that there was a problem with vaccines. They didn't work. You know why they didn't work? It turns out that coronavirus is a very malleable model. It transforms and it changes and it mutates over time. As a matter of fact, every publication on vaccines for coronavirus from 1990 until 2018, every single publication concluded that coronavirus escapes the vaccine impulse, because it modifies and mutates too quickly for vaccines to be effective. And since 1990 to 2018, that is the published science, ladies and gentlemen. That's following the science. Following the science is their own indictment of their own programs that said it doesn't work. And there are thousands of publications to that effect, not a few hundred, and not paid for by pharmaceutical companies. These are publications that are independent scientific research that shows unequivocally, including efforts of the chimera modifications made by Ralph Baric in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. All of them show vaccines do not work on coronavirus. That's the science. And that science has never been disputed. But then we had an interesting development in 2002. And this date is most important, because in 2002, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill patented, and I quote, an infectious replication defective clone of coronavirus. Listen to those words, infectious replication defective. What does that phrase actually mean? For those of you not familiar with language, let me unpack it for you. Infectious replication defective means a weapon. It means something meant to target an individual, but not have collateral damage to other individuals. That's what infectious replication defective means. And that patent was filed in 2002 on work funded by NIAID's Anthony Fauci from 1999 to 2002, and that work, patented at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, mysteriously preceded SARS 1.0 by a year. Dave, are you suggesting that SARS 1.0 wasn't from a wet market in Wuhan? Are you suggesting it might have come from a laboratory in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill? No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you that's the facts. We engineered SARS. SARS is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. The naturally occurring phenomenon is called the common cold. It's called influenza-like illness. It's called gastroenteritis. That's the naturally occurring coronavirus. SARS is the research developed by humans weaponizing a life system model to actually attack human beings. And they patented it in 2002. And in 2003, giant surprise, the CDC filed the patent on coronavirus isolated from humans in violation, once again, of biological and chemical weapons treaties and laws that we have in the United States. And I'm very, very precise on this. The United States likes to talk about its rights and everything else and the rule of law and all the nonsense that we like to talk about. But we don't ratify treaties about, I don't know, defending humans. We conspicuously avoid that. We actually have a great track record of advocating for human rights and then denying them when it comes to actually being part of the international community, which is a slightly problematic thing. But let's get something very clear. When the CDC in April of 2003 filed the patent on SARS coronavirus isolated from humans, what did they do? They downloaded a sequence from China and filed a patent on it in the United States. Any of you familiar with biological and chemical weapons treaties knows that's a violation. That's a crime. That's not an innocent oops. That's a crime. And the United States Patent Office went as far as to reject that patent application on 2 occasions until the CDC decided to bribe the Patent Office to override the patent examiner to ultimately issue the patent in 2007 on SARS coronavirus. But let's not let that get away from us, because it turns out that the RT-PCR, which was the test that we allegedly were going to use to identify the risks associated with coronavirus, was actually identified as a bioterrorism threat by me in the European Union-sponsored events in 2002 and 2003, 20 years ago. That happened here in Brussels and across Europe. In 2005, this particular pathogen was specifically labeled as a bioterrorism and bioweapon platform technology. Described as such. That's not my terminology that I'm applying to it. It was actually described as a bioweapons platform technology in 2005. And from 2005 onwards, it was actually a biowarfare enabling agent, its official classification from 2005 forward. I don't know if that sounds like public health to you. Does it? Biological warfare enabling technology. That feels like not public health. That feels like not medicine. That feels like a weapon designed to take out humanity. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that because that's exactly what it is. We have been lured into believing that EcoHealth Alliance and DARPA and all of these organizations are what we should be pointing to. But we've been specifically requested to ignore the facts that over $10 billion have been funneled through black operations through the check of Anthony Fauci and a side-by-side ledger where NIAID has a balance sheet and next to it is a biodefense balance sheet equivalent dollar-for-dollar matching that no one in the media talks about. And it's been going on since 2005. Our gain-of-function moratorium, the moratorium that was supposed to freeze any efforts to do gain-of-function research. Conveniently, in the fall of 2014, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill received a letter from NIAID saying that while the gain-of-function moratorium on coronavirus in vivo should be suspended, because their grants had already been funded, they received an exemption. Did you hear what I just said? A biological weapons lab facility at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, received an exemption from the gain-of-function moratorium so that by 2016 we could publish the journal article that said, SARS coronavirus is poised for human emergence in 2016. And what, you might ask, Dave, was the coronavirus poised for human emergence? It was WIV1, Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1. Poised for human emergence in 2016 at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, such that by the time we get to 2017 and 2018, the following phrase entered into common parlance among the community. There is going to be an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen. The operative word, obviously, in that phrase, the word release. Does that sound like leak? Does that sound like a bat and a pangolin went into a bar in the Wuhan market and hung out and had sex, and lo and behold, we got SARS-CoV-2? No. Accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen was the terminology used, and 4 times in April of 2019, 7 months before the allegation of patient number 1, 4 patent applications of Moderna were modified to include the term accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen as the justification for making a vaccine for a thing that did not exist. Keep going. If you have not done so, please make sure that you make reference in every investigation to the premeditation nature of this, because it was in September of 2019 that the world was informed that we were going to have an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen so that by September 2020, there would be a worldwide acceptance of a universal vaccine template. That's their words, right in front of you on the screen. The intent was to get the world to accept a universal vaccine template, and the intent was to use coronavirus to get there. And the last slide. This isn't advancing, so if I could have somebody do it. Let's read this, because we have to read this into the record everywhere I go. Until an infectious disease crisis is very real, present, and at the emergency threshold, it is often largely ignored. To sustain the funding base beyond the crisis, he said, we need to increase the public understanding for the need for medical countermeasures such as a pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype. We need to use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. Sounds like public health? Sounds like the best of humanity? No, ladies and gentlemen, this was premeditated domestic terrorism stated at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015, published in front of them. This is an act of biological and chemical warfare perpetrated on the human race, and it was admitted to in writing that this was a financial heist and a financial fraud. Investors will follow if they see profit at the end of the process. Let me conclude by making 5 very brief recommendations. The last slide. Nature was hijacked. This whole story started in 1965 when we decided to hijack a natural model and decide to start manipulating it. Science was hijacked when the only questions that could be asked were questions authorized under the patent protection of the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and their equivalent organizations around the world. We didn't have independent science. We had hijacked science. And unfortunately, there was no moral oversight in violation of all of the codes that we stand for. There was no independent, financially disinterested, independent review board ever impaneled around coronavirus, not once. Not once. Not since 1965. We do not have a single independent IRB ever impaneled around coronavirus. So morality was suspended for medical countermeasures. And ultimately, humanity was lost because we decided to allow it to happen. Our job today is to say, no more gain-of-function research, period. No more weaponization of nature, period. And most importantly, no more corporate patronage of science for their own self-interest unless they assume 100% product liability for every injury and every death that they maintain. Thank you very much.
Looking for a place for the whole family? Come down to the Toucan Mall in Amelia's Ward, Linden. It's the mall that has it all. We have great food, a relaxing atmosphere, and activities for all ages. Tennis, swimming, and a playground. But the fun doesn't stop after dark. There's even a bar and an arcade. And if you aren't ready to go home yet, we've even got a spacious room for your comfort, complete with air conditioning, Wi-Fi, and a private bathroom. The Toucan Mall can also facilitate your event in our spacious conference hall. We also have a theater with films for the entire family. It's the Toucan Mall located in Amelia's Ward, Linden.
Hard and we're in a conversation here in the moment.
Yes.
Turn your volume down. Turn down your volume. Turn your volume
What
down.
you got to do to people?
Turn your
Anyhow,
volume.
all the best to you, okay?
Thank you, darling. Thank you. What area are you calling from?
Home.
Where
You're Guyana?
Where is home? Where is home?
You're in GT?
In BV.
Are you in Guyana?
I'm here, yes. Where are you calling from?
Home.
This is what area? We have someone who is interested in knowing where the phones are, where the calls are coming from. So I'm asking the question, what area are you in? Oh shit, we lost her. We lost her. I think that's BV. That's BV. I know that that many persons who understood and who listened carefully are in shock at what was just said. And this is not anything that I did. This is not anything that was fabricated or is a theory that you know, that they use the term previous to now. This is no conspiracy. This is a reality, okay? And we cannot change what has happened, like I said. What we have to do is to change what we do with ourselves to help us to overcome the effects of what was administered to us. All right? What we have done, since we knew this all along, is that I worked with a scientist. I worked with a scientist to formulate something that can offset the effects of the chemicals that were injected into persons. Okay? We were not able to get enough because it just keeps going out, and we just got some in yesterday. Right? But what it does, it actually helps to offset the effects and enhance your immune system, because you can't change what was already put into your arms. It's already there. Okay? I think it was, I know it was something that maybe as a result of power and greed, I say power, greed, and agenda, you know, some sort of an agenda that persons would have had, that many of it you would have seen previous to this program. We've shown a lot of things over the past couple of years. However, persons were saying it's conspiracy theory. And I know what has happened so far. I've sent information to some of those persons who were so mind struck or hard struck in saying that it's conspiracy. And so far, I have not heard from them. I think what has happened is that they've been silenced for the most part, and the reality has it home that this is really what it was, right? So getting back to what we were talking about, and you can call if you have a question. You can call if you have a health issue. You can call us in the studio, and the numbers on the screen, and I'll try to answer as much as I can. But we have to wake up as a country here in Guyana and realize that we have to be responsible. Those of us who are in a position, we have to be responsible for protecting the citizens who we are responsible for, to avoid them from becoming victims of greed and power. Okay? Good evening. Turn your volume. Turn your volume of your television down, please, or step away from the TV. Step away from your television.
Good evening to you.
Please turn your volume down. Turn your volume down.
I'm doing so right now.
Okay, it's better, but step away from the TV because you're getting a feedback.
Yes. I am calling from Bladen Hall on the East Coast.
Bladen Hall, okay.
But I want to ask you, when will you be getting those fibroid pills?
You need to step away from your television a little. Because you'll be getting a feedback. There's a serious feedback. The fibroid medicine, some of it came yesterday.
Okay.
In a liquid form, which has the formulation which was in the pill also, so it's stronger.
Okay. Well, I will check with you next week to get some of it.
Very well.
Okay, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too. Do the same, and happy Independence to you.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye bye. Bladen Hall. That's how far from here. Bladen Hall is about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. At least we know that it's reaching. I want to hear from people in Bartica, if possible. I want to hear from people maybe at the border between East Coast and Berbice. I don't know if it'll reach that far. On the East Bank, as far up on the East Bank as possible. I'd like to hear, if not today, you know, as we proceed with the program, we want to hear from you because we want to know that the signal is reaching you. Okay, this is not something that we're doing because of a commercial situation. We want to know that the signal is getting to you because people are being paid to provide the service here to get the signals to you into your homes, right? You may also want to look at your antennas because some of your antennas may be outdated, right? You may not be picking up the signals because your antennas are weak, or they may be antiquated, or they may be broken, right? So you want to make sure that your antennas are picking up channel 2. And it's not only today. You can also check even after the program, even on different days, to see that you are receiving channel 2, because this is a drive to ensure that the signal is reaching homes, right? It's very important that you do that you tune in, tell your friends to tune in, tell your relatives wherever they are in the areas to just tune in, and let's get back the interaction that we missed, we lost because of the pandemic and the situations that would have created the space, right? So we want to fill the gap and get our program back so that we can have interaction between me and your concerns and information that you need that we can provide. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes more, and I want to thank you so far, all of you who would have listened. I know it's a lot for you to digest, but never mind, just follow some of the information that I gave you, and hopefully you'll be fine. But in answer to some of the questions regarding some of the symptoms or discomforts that people are feeling now, maybe hopefully some of what you saw today would help you to understand why you're feeling what you're feeling. Okay, like I always said, the coronavirus was here before. The coronavirus is not going anywhere, it's here to stay. But the COVID-19 SARS coronavirus, that is the concern that the scientists, the true scientists who you would have seen one there a few minutes ago, is so concerned about that. We wanna do something to change what is happening to those persons who we cannot undo those that have passed already. We can't change what has happened to them. However, those of you who are here, okay, those of you who are still here at the sound of my voice, you're still alive, okay? Let us get into farming. Let us get into producing the foods. And I have a very good friend of mine who is also a family, a patient of ours, basically. She actually grows organic foods, not because of the coronavirus, but because of the fact that the chemicals are so many out there in the regular market foods, that she took it upon herself and her family to start a huge organic farm. And if you want information on that, you can contact us at the office of the clinic at 231-6477. I'm going to ask my operator to quickly put that number up there. I don't see it. You can call us at that number at 231-6477. And if there it is up there. And if you need information regarding the organic farm or regarding anything to do with what we saw today or the conditions that you have that you're suffering with, we can't save all of you, but we will intervene and hopefully try to avoid the excess pain and agony that some of you are experiencing. Okay? We will continue to talk about nutrition on our next program. And time is up. I want to thank you for participating. I want to thank my operator. I want to thank all of you who were looking at our program. And until we meet again next week, I want you to be careful. Happy Independence to all of you. Tune in. Tell your friends next Thursday that we're back, we're on, and we want to know that you're seeing us. Okay? Dr. Haynes saying good night. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend. So long.
Looking for a place for the whole family? Come down to the Toucan Mall in Amelia's Ward, Linden. It's the mall that has it all. We have great food, a relaxing atmosphere, and activities for all ages. Tennis, swimming, and a playground. But the fun doesn't stop after dark. There's even a bar and an arcade. And if you aren't ready to go home yet, we've even got a spacious room for your comfort, complete with air conditioning, Wi-Fi, and a private bathroom. The Toucan Mall can also facilitate your event in our spacious conference hall. We also have a theater with films for the entire family. It's the Toucan Mall located in Amelia's Ward, Linden.